Arjun flared the worn Cessna 172 and kissed the Sacramento tarmac, the 1,000th perfect, boring landing of his career. He mechanically taxied to the flight school hangar, the sunset bleeding gold across the concrete. As he secured the aircraft, Captain Miller approached him, clapping a hand on his shoulder. "That's enough instruction, Arjun," Miller stated, gesturing toward the main office. "I need you out the flight line and at the desk. I'm offering you head of operations, a raise that will finally let you relax."
Miller leaned across the linen tablecloth, his voice a low hum of praise about building legacies and holding the line. He pointed out the row of glossy photographs lining the restaurant wall, showing him at 40 with full hair, then 50 with great temples, always smiling, always safe. Arjun stared at the smiling faces on the wall and felt the heavy weight of the administrator's desk. A suffocating finality settled in his chest, knowing that accepting the promotion would be the end of his real flying.
Arjun's office at the Sacramento school felt quiet and cold after his talk with Miller. The desk phone buzzed, vibrating across the polished wood. He recognized the heavy breathing on the line before the caller spoke. "Arjun, I need you. I need a pilot who can land a beaver on ice and fog, not an administrator."
Captain Miller didn't knock. He just walked into the shared office and threw the folded application form onto the pile of logbooks on Arjun's desk. "The board meets tomorrow at 9, Miller said, his voice unusually harsh and low. Leaning in close so the fluorescent light caught the tension in his face. "If you submit that thing for Alaska now, you're not just declining the promotion, Arjun. You're telling them you're done with us, and they will find someone else for head of ops." Arjun stared at the glossy paper and his own signature, the security of his entire 10-year career suddenly feeling like a prison door about to lock him in.
The application for Alaska, transmitted with a soft chime, a final notification that also alerted Captain Miller in the adjacent office. Arjun watched the older man read the screen, then rise with the silver compass pendant in his hand, a heavy silence settling in the fluorescent-lit room. He simply said, "Good luck," and closed his door, the sound finalizing Arjun's severance from the comfortable future they had planned. Clutching his worn flight logbook, Arjun could already feel the sun-bleached hangar beginning to ice over in his mind.
Arjun's flight gloves gripped the cold yoke, but the radio crackled with a silent emptiness. The engine of the rugged Cessna, usually a steady roar, suddenly seized and sputtered, leaving the cockpit eerie in its new quiet over the Denali wilderness. A red warning light pulsed, confirming a mechanical failure miles from any outpost and out of radio range. His training was impeccable, but the complex reality of this Arctic emergency was far removed from the flight simulator. The choice he'd made to leave safety felt very heavy, and the silence from the radio was a deafening reminder of how alone he truly was.
Wind-driven ice screamed against the metal shell of the rural Alaska clinic. Arjun gripped the rigid cot where the silent 6-year-old girl lay, her shallow breathing barely audible beneath the storm's roar. "The no-fly is firm, Arjun," Captain Miller's voice crackled over the radio, the only link back to safety. "If you push through that icing, you die. Wait it out." Arjun stared at the jagged, frozen landscape waiting outside. He knew waiting was a death sentence for the child.
A single tear burns against the cold sweat on Arjun's cheek as the medevac chopper blades begin their slow, rhythmic thump. He pulls the oxygen mask from his face, looking back toward the Denali outpost's hangar where Captain Miller watches, a subtle, final nod his only goodbye. Arjun understands now that expertise isn't the finish line, it's the only asset he owns that matters, and today he is spending it. He picks up his worn logbook and steps into the relentless wind, finally settling his debt to both the past and himself.